Thank you. Thank you very much. A joke about atheism. A joke about atheism. A joke about how I'm not in as many films as I used to be. A joke about this woman in the front row here. A joke about her vagina. A joke about my double chin. A joke about rape. Right, okay. Just testing the water. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the 11th of January 2014. The awards season is upon us. The weather outside is average at best, and the lighting in the room at the minute resembles that of a 70s porn flick. This can of course mean only one thing. It's time for the Ruairidh Awards 2013. 2013 stays in the memory for many reasons. It was the year that I graduated, that I grew a moustache, that I moved to London, that I trimmed my pubic hair, that I lost a finger, that I found a new finger, learnt how to knot a tie, and finally watched at least 7 films. Shocking. Every year I keep a checklist of every film that I watch and then I reread it at the end of the year. It's just something that I like to do, just so I can look at all the films I've watched at the end of the year and go, oh yeah, what a great year of films I've had. This year is particularly noteworthy because I got myself a job in my local cinema, which meant that rather than spending all of my income on the films, I was getting paid to watch them for free. For those of you new to the concept, the Ruairidh Awards is essentially me making up categories for films so that I can give out random awards to random films that affected me in a certain way. It's very individual awards that are very specific to the films that I've come up with. Generally it's just a big laugh where I get to look at the films I've watched and give my opinion on them. So get comfy, grab your popcorn, wait until the quiet points to eat it, and let's get started. This is the Ruairidh Awards 2013. There's not a million categories this year. It's a funny thing, even though I did get my job at the cinema, that was only towards the end of the year, whereas in the first half of the year I was writing my dissertation, so I actually had very little time to go to the cinema. The cinema that I went to while I was living in York was a picture house cinema, which do the more indie flicks, whereas the one down south where I am now does much more, you know, mainstream films. So a lot of the films that I saw in the first half of the year were more my kind of films. Independent films, slightly hard-hitting films rather than like, oh, Die Hard 12, you know? That's not me being a snob, and a lot of the films that I've chosen here are quite mainstream films. I didn't get to see as many films this year as I would have liked because of commitments to other things. Still saw shitloads, still like laying about for the most part of the year. We'll start as we mean to go on with the biggest disappointments category. Please welcome my beautiful assistant for the evening, Monkey, to give us this award. He will be giving out all the awards this evening, by the way. Don't get excited that there's going to be loads of celebrity guests, it's just Monkey. There we go, thank you mate, down you plop. Coming in third place for the biggest disappointment award is The World's End. Mainly just because Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are 2 of my favourite comedies of all time, and I went into this with such high expectations and the hype had been built up quite a lot, and I came out at the end and I was like, oh, that was quite good, and then I thought, hang on, wait, wasn't I meant to be laughing throughout that? Fine as a film, but was lacking in laughs. Just didn't really meet the standard of the other 2 in the trilogy, which is it's a shame. It's a Shaun of the Dead, you see? Yeah. Coming in at number 2 on my biggest disappointments list, it's Only God Forgives. One of my favourite actors and the director of one of my favourite films of all time. Sounds like a wonderful mix. Yeah, moving swiftly on. Finally, number 1 on my list of biggest disappointments is the film where I watched the trailer about 15 times, maybe more. Looked like my kind of film, you know, amazing cast, great director, amazing writer working on the script. I got so excited and thought it was going to be amazing. It is The Counsellor. Because I watched it and then I came out and I was like, really? That's what you've come up with? Honestly, I don't. It was a disaster. It was such a mess. Fair play to all the cast that tried the best, and I guess the director, you know, wasn't terrible. Ridley Scott's still trying his best. I think it's mainly down to the script, so a message to you, Mr. McCarthy, please stick to books, because you're really good at them, but this was just all over the place. Up next is the film that most made me want to leave the cinema halfway through. Thank you. I should point out that I never leave a film. Even if I'm hating the film, I'm never going to leave it, because I want to say that I've seen it through to the end, so that I can give an overall view of the film as a whole, rather than just like, I didn't like the first half, so I left. It's Wreck-It Ralph, which is a really obscure choice, and I'm sure so many of you at home will be going like, well, that was a great film, that was a hilarious film. That film, for me, was going, oh, that's that character from them games that I used to play as a kid, and then be like, right, script, and then be like, more characters from games. When you were a kid, do you remember you used to play them? Script. You used to play them, didn't you? And now they're on the screen now. It was just, so disappointed, you know? Massive case of MTH Must Try Harder. I was just bored to tears by the script, and I thought it went nowhere and started with a good concept and then just crashed and burned. Cannot wait for the backlash on that one, I'm just preparing myself. Best Comedy Award goes to Alpha Papa, which I absolutely loved. I went in a screen that was fairly full and was full of people really wanting to laugh at this film, and boy did it deliver. It was clear that every single line had like really been thought through. They hadn't like come up with a few funny scenes and then just made a story around the rest of it. It was like every line was beautiful. Like there wasn't a beat missed, and I'm really looking forward to watching this again and again because it seems like one of those films that's just going to be funnier more and more every time you watch it. A really obscure one, film that stole my play idea, was a little independent one that not many people saw, called Borrowed Time, where a kid broke into an old man's house and got caught in the act, which was exactly the same as my play that I did for my dissertation. They just did it so much better than me. Really annoying. If everyone keeps stealing my ideas, I'm never going to make it, so I'm blaming that film, but really do go check it out. It's a damn good film. Worst film of the year was a really difficult one because basically if I think a film's going to be shit, I won't go and see it. So most of the films that I thought were shit have gone into the biggest disappointments category. There were a fair few that are going to go up on many people's lists, like Movie 43, but for me, I've gone for I Give It a Year, which was classed as a comedy, apparently, and I didn't laugh once. It was really long and I was just sitting there like, come on now. What's next, Monkey Man? Biggest surprise. Oh, okay, this is a really interesting one. It's About Time, Richard Curtis. I've enjoyed almost every single one of Richard Curtis's films. You know what you're getting with a Richard Curtis film. If people are complaining about it being overly sentimental or anything like that, don't go and see it. It rattled along quite nicely and I laughed at parts, and okay, it was a bit soppy and a bit bullshitty, but you know, I genuinely did enjoy it. And then it got to the last 10 minutes and I don't like to do the crying thing. I don't go see a film and think I can't wait to cry at this, which I know a lot of people do, and fair play to them. But I'm not that kind of bloke. I wanted to go see the film and quite enjoy it, but I found myself, it welled up inside me and I didn't like want to let it out. I really tried to contain it, but my eyes were fucking streaming at it. I thought it was beautiful. It really hit home with me, being quite a family man. Just had to go outside and call my dad immediately, and we had like an hour-long chat, and it was great. And it's such a good film for only that reason, basically. I wouldn't rush back to it. I didn't think it was that good a film, but just the last 10 minutes had me absolutely weeping. It's what I needed at the time as well. Came home and felt homesick from like September till, I don't know, like December the 24th when I saw him again. Best films not released in 2013. There's 3 to choose from. Firstly, Half Nelson, which I loved. Secondly, Snowtown, an Australian independent film, which is great. Thirdly, Dead Man's Shoes, which is quite an obvious one. How I hadn't seen any of those 3 before this year, I have no idea. Loved them all. Best soundtrack's a really interesting one. I'm giving it to Frozen. Give it to Gravity! Give it to Gravity! Give it to the film that meant Do You Want to Build a Snowman entered my life. Changed for the better. There's this final horn section in the final credits just before the final Disney logo appears, and I used to actually look forward to being able to clean that screen once the film had started coming out, because it meant that there was this final few seconds where I heard that final horn section and it just sent shivers down my spine. The film is brilliant, the songs are amazing, and I absolutely loved it. We're getting into the big leagues now. I'd like to start with Standout Male Actor. I'm going to give this one to Richard Dormer in Good Vibrations, because the punk movement is something I've never really understood. I've never really cared for it. The music in general has just sort of scared me, and the people with the hair and the jackets, and I'm always just a bit like, no, I don't like it. But his performance was one done with such passion and belief that he actually sort of conveyed perfectly what the punk movement was actually about, and he had a damn good script behind him, you know, to give him that push. But he just really was Terry Hooley. That might sound ridiculous, but he was Terry Hooley. So, I mean, fair play to him for that, because shapeshifting's quite a difficult skill. Standout female actor goes to Eloise Lawrence for her performance in Broken, because I didn't see a better performance all year. I know that's a ridiculous reason to give someone the award, but that's genuinely true. I saw that film in January and didn't see a better performance for the rest of the year. There were some brilliant ones, don't get me wrong, but she was just phenomenal. And I hope it doesn't sound patronising to say that at such a young age she shouldn't be this good, but if she's only 13 years old and gives the best performance I've seen all year, I think we're in for very good things in the future, so well done to her, she can have that. A phenomenal script meant she could give a phenomenal performance, and she deserves a huge amount of credit for it. Quite a big one. Best Director goes to Alfonso Cuarón for Gravity. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, I've heard his name mentioned so many times, and then when it actually comes to reading it and saying it myself, I'm like, Cuarón, cus. Anyway, I thought Gravity was a great film. It was the most visually impressive film I've seen this year, even if the script was lacking a bit. I had a wonderful cinematic experience with it. It's one of the few films I've ever seen in 3D that I actually thought was worthwhile. I was blown away by it and left in my seat like, holy shit. His camera movements were incredible. It was clear that so much time had been put into it. For that reason, he gets my Best Director award. I certainly don't think it's a film I'll look forward to watching again on DVD. He's set new standards now that everybody else has to meet, so well done. And now to the most important point of the evening. With the help of Little Monkey Man, it is my top 5 films of 2013. What a phenomenal year it's been for films. I was looking over all the films that I'd seen in 2013 and trying to pick out the best, and there were just so many to choose from that I absolutely loved. These are just the absolute best, so there's plenty that didn't make it in that I would have liked to have put in. Here's some interesting ones that I hope you'll agree with. At number 5, it's Philomena, which was a film that I went to see 3 times in the end. Fair play, I got to see it for free. Probably wouldn't have rushed back if I'd have had to pay 15 quid a ticket or whatever, but even still, to see a film 3 times when it's only been out 2 months is saying a lot about it. I think the best thing about it was the script was perfectly pitched. There was a lot of speculation about how much truth there was in the story itself, in the way it was being told, but certainly the fact that Philomena, the woman who it's actually based on, was defending it herself says a lot about how accurate it is. It did very well in telling a very difficult story with both honesty and wit and intelligence behind it. And ultimately I think what I really liked about it was that it left it completely up to the audience still how you felt about it. It was treating the audience with a level of respect and intelligence, and feel free to turn off now if you felt anything other than disgusted by what went on. At number 4, it's Broken. Broken seems like an age ago now, but it was officially a January release. I was so floored by it when I went to see it at City Screen back when I was living in York, many months ago now. But it stayed with me throughout the year, and not much has come close, so that's why it's standing strong at number 4. If you missed it, it's available on Netflix. I know it's doing the rounds now, which I'm happy to see. I really recommend it. Obviously it contains best female performance in my opinion of the year, so that's saying a lot. And Tim Roth, as ever, just incredible performances, great script, perfectly handled. Get it out on DVD. At number 3, an absolutely feel-good, feel-fucking wonderful film, The Way Back. This was Sam Rockwell at his absolute best. The film had real heart and it made me feel all warm and fuzzy, and I'd just moved down to London when I saw it, and it made me want to run outside and like embrace the day and do everything at once. I really like coming of age stories that aren't schmaltzy and shit. This was properly good, funny, sentimental when it wanted to be, but not overdoing it. And and like I say, I just wanted to run out of the cinema halfway through and just start doing things with my life, but I didn't. Stayed till the end of the film, and I'm glad I did, because it was a good film in the end. Yeah, really enjoyed it. That's number 3, The Way Back. At number 2 was one that went on to Tarantino's top 10, and I'm a bit sad to say I'm in the same opinion as him, but it's Drinking Buddies. I think it worked so well because it was such a simple story. It was like the writer came up with an idea that they knew worked, and then they just needed the actors to back it up and make the characters more fleshed out and real. It's got that lovely naturalistic feel to it, which I'm a very big fan of. I think that comes from a lot of it being improvised, but ultimately I just think it was such a lovely story told so well. And that's what I'm looking for in a film this year, so making it all the way into number 2, it's Drinking Buddies. Also, can I just say Olivia Wilde is beautiful? Can I mention that at this point? Is that fair? And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Rory Burris's number 1 film of 2013. I'm sure you are waiting with bated breath. Well, here we go. One of the highlights of my year was visiting Screen 1 of Empire Cinema in Leicester Square with one of my beautiful friends to see Only God Forgives. I'm only joking, the film's shit. There's my $10, there, you can take it. But 6 months later, I went back to the same cinema, and hidden in a tiny little screen that fits about 50 people, I went to see a film with another good friend of mine called Enough Said. And I was blown away, and I've rewatched it recently and was even more blown away. This film spoke to me on such a personal level that I just haven't been able to let it go. Enough Said makes it to number 1. So I've realised, having watched that one of my favourite things now is watching a film and catching yourself smiling even though what's happening on screen isn't actually that funny. It's because Enough Said has that really naturalistic feel where the 2 actors are fantastic in it, they really are. And I found myself just like that the whole time throughout, just falling in love with the characters on screen. It's just about two lonely people meeting each other, basically. The film starts and ends there. It's a really bizarre thing to be watching a moment of tenderness or warmth and find that you yourself are taking on the same emotions as the characters that are on the screen. And this film just kept doing it to me again and again and again. There's a small contrivance within the plot which, you know, basically just means that the script can get to 90 minutes. Well, that's how I saw it anyway. The contrivance didn't bother me in any way. I thought it was a nice comical twist, and I just think the film worked on every level. I'm pleased to see that it's made it into Rotten Tomatoes top 10. Even more pleased to say that it's my number 1 film of 2013. I had a wonderful evening seeing a wonderful film with a wonderful friend. If you missed Enough Said, go check it out. It's out now on DVD. James Gandolfini's last film, which is obviously very sad. This is a performance like I've never seen him give before, and it's sad to say that it's his final one, but I think it's a high note to end on. And that brings us to the end, really. If you liked the video, please do actually click like so I actually know you liked it. As ever, the main reason I do these videos is for your comments. I want to know what you think. I want to hear your opinions. Your opinions on my opinions, but also just your opinions in general. Tell me what your films of the year were, your performances of the year. If there's any films I've missed off that you think I should really have mentioned, I should really have seen, and that you think I probably haven't, do let me know. I'm desperate to see films. Obviously, they are my life now. And looking forward to 2014, it looks like it's going to be a phenomenal year. My cut-off date was 2013, so if there's any films that came out, anything after December the 31st, I haven't been able to include them. So a lot of the Oscar noms and things like that will be in next year's list, if they're on it at all. But for now, thank you for watching. Sorry if it's been really long. I did wear a suit to make it feel like it would be a special event. Thank you to Monkey for being here with me today and providing a wonderful performance throughout. You're welcome. And I will see you all very shortly. Oh, and if this video's been out of sync, again, I'll just buy a new camera. It's going to solve the problem, innit? I'll just buy a really expensive camera. See you soon.